Sleep affects everything, right? How many of your menopause symptoms do you think could be made better by just getting a good night's sleep? Irritability, confidence, brain fog, anxiety, all of these things can be made better or worse depending on the quality of our sleep. So in this video, I'm going to be looking at what is going on with your sleep in perimenopause and menopause and how to improve both the quality and quantity of sleep. Hi, I'm Chelsea Green, holistic hormone specialist. I help women transition from peri to post-menopause naturally using homeopathy, herbs, nutrition, and lifestyle measures. So if you're doing menopause naturally or you're taking HRT and finding it's not quite resolving all of your symptoms and you need a little bit of support, make sure to hit subscribe because that's what this channel is all about. So first, a little bit about sleep. Sleep is all about the hormone melatonin, and melatonin is paired with our stress hormone cortisol. So ideally, what happens is that we have nice high levels of cortisol in the morning when we wake to give us the energy to get out of bed and get on with our day. These high levels of cortisol should fade away throughout the day, and as light fades in the afternoon and the early evening, melatonin begins to rise. Those rising melatonin levels have a very calming effect, so they calm the nervous system and prepare the body for sleep. At the same time, another hormone, adenosine, it is building up through the day, and adenosine can be thought about as our sleepiness hormone. So it's a building up of sleepiness that happens throughout the day. So before we look at how to promote good quality sleep, let's discuss what does good quality sleep even look like. Ideally, we're aiming for 7 to 9 hours of sleep. It's a spectrum. You will fall somewhere within that spectrum. And we want 1 to 2 hours of deep sleep. If you do wear a trackable device, have a look at how much deep sleep you're getting. You should be aiming for 1 to 2 hours of deep sleep. And ideally, we want to be asleep by 10 p.m. One of the important factors that happens during sleep is called autophagy. And autophagy is like a sweeping up of cellular debris, of rubbish and toxins and things that we don't need. And this happens in the brain between 10 p.m. and midnight. So if you're struggling with brain fog, any cognition or memory issues, I would definitely recommend trying to go to bed at 10 p.m. So menopause and sleep. What we typically see, though this is completely individual because we're all individuals with our own unique cycles, but what we typically see is in perimenopause, issues with falling asleep and staying asleep. And then in menopause, we see issues with waking earlier, that sort of 4, 5 a.m. waking. In fact, let me know in the comments below if you're having trouble falling or staying asleep, or if you're having trouble with the early waking. So why does sleep become problematic in menopause? In perimenopause, we have a low progesterone state, and that can cause sleep issues. We also have fluctuating estrogen, and that can cause disturbances in the brain, in the sleep parts of the brain. There can be problems with blood sugar levels, there can be too high a stress levels, and also just functional disturbances like aches and pains, bladder frequency, and of course hot flushes and night sweat. With sleep, however, it is a bit of a two-way street. Whilst all of the problems that I mentioned can cause sleep issues, not sleeping can also cause all of those problems. So it is a bit of a chicken and egg, and you really do have to take a holistic picture when looking at improving sleep. So one of my favorite tools to use when looking at sleep is from traditional Chinese medicine, and it's their organ clock. According to traditional Chinese medicine, each organ of the body has time of day that's associated with it, and also an emotion that is associated with that organ. So from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. is the time of the gallbladder, and the gallbladder is all about the emotion irritability and also about decision making, typically the day-to-day smaller decisions. From 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. is the time of the liver, and the liver is all about, well, it's known as the seat of our emotions, but it's typically about anger and again decision making, but the bigger, more worldly type decision. And 1 till 3 is the time I most commonly see women waking. Next up, we have 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., which is all about the lungs, and the lungs are all about grief. And then we've got 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., which is all about the large intestines. And I do see a little bit of a crossover here. Typically, I see women in menopause waking at this sort sort of 4 to 5 a.m. slot. And the things I would be thinking about would be blood sugar balance and cortisol levels. So around sort of 4 a.m.-ish, there tends to be a bit of a flux in blood sugar, and around 5 a.m. we get a rise in cortisol to give us energy to wake us up and get on with the day. And because in menopause, perimenopause and menopause, we have higher stress levels, we just become more sensitive to that surge in cortisol at 5 a.m. So tips to improving your sleep. The first one, of course, reduce your stress levels. If we have high levels of stress hormone throughout the day, it will impact the ability to produce melatonin later in the day. The brain will tell the pineal gland, we're under attack, it's not safe to go to sleep. We want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to reduce our stress levels. So doing that daily self-care, the quiet time, just allowing the nervous system to calm down and send the message to the brain that we are safe. The next thing we can look at is what we call sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene, again, is all about the brain. So the brain craves consistency. When it has consistency, it feels safe. So we can create good sleep hygienes that help the brain to feel safe and ready to drop off. What we can do is create a routine, and I mean a routine both in the sense of going to bed and waking at the same time every single day, and a routine as in taking the same before we go to bed every single night. So that might be that you read a book and drink a nice calming herbal tea, or that you take a hot bath with calming essential oils like frankincense and rose and lavender, or that you do some meditation or a yoga nidra. It doesn't matter what you do in the routine, as long as it's quiet and it's calming and it's helping the nervous system to calm down and prepare the body for sleep. The other part of sleep hygiene is making sure you have the right environment. So your bedroom should be cool, dark and clutter-free. Cool because the body has to drop a few degrees in temperature to fall asleep. It should be dark and quiet, obviously, and also clutter-free. So again, this is about the brain. The brain will always be making associations. So if it associates your bedroom with a place of chaos, then that won't be conducive to good quality or quantity of sleep. And the final part of sleep hygiene is all about our light exposure. You know, thinking about not being exposed to bright lights in the evening, but also how much screen time you're having in the evening. Ideally, you stop screen time an hour before going to bed, because the blue light emitted from screens sends a signal to the brain to be awake and alert. Next up, we've got nutrition. So yes, we can use nutrition to improve our sleep. Tart cherry juice is known to increase melatonin production. Foods from the Mediterranean diet like grape seeds, tomatoes, peppers, walnuts, again, they help with melatonin production, as do chicken and turkey. So chicken and turkey are rich in an amino acid called tryptophan, and tryptophan is an essential amino acid for melatonin production. And of course, we want magnesium rich foods. So magnesium is a mineral that's really important for calming our nerves. It's like a nerve tonic, so it helps just to calm everything down. So think about leafy greens, think about almonds, avocado, and even cacao, raw chocolate, though I wouldn't recommend that before bedtime, but earlier in the day, cacao would be great. Obviously, diets high in sugar and refined carbohydrates are not going to be conducive to good quality sleep. And the other thing that can affect sleep is really low carb diets. So if you're on a really low carb diet and having problems with sleep, try adding a very, very small portion of complex carbohydrates to your evening meal to see if that helps. And ideally, we go to bed satisfied, not too hungry, not too full, just nicely satisfied. Make sure you include daily movement for good quality sleep, thinking about that building up of adenosine. Movement can help build up that sleepiness hormone, and thinking about how we need to be tired on mental, emotional, and physical level. So make sure you're moving, make sure you're challenging the brain, and your emotional needs are met as well. In terms of things that will make your sleep worse, obviously we want to be avoiding caffeine. I would recommend no caffeine after 2 p.m. And if you're sensitive, no caffeine after midday. Alcohol is not good for sleep. It might feel like it is, but it's actually sedating you, so you don't get the same restorative benefits from sleep. Another thing you could consider avoiding is fluoride. So fluoride actually calcifies the pineal gland where we produce melatonin. Cutting fluoride out of your life could help with your sleep. Homeopathy, it is fantastic for sleep, but as you can see, there's thousands of remedies to choose from, so perhaps it's one area that you might work with a practitioner. However, you could look at something like coffea. So coffea is made from coffee. coffee, and we know that coffee can cause insomnia. So in its homeopathic form, it can reduce or improve insomnia, particularly where there's like the nervousness, restlessness that you would see in a highly caffeinated state. Lemon balm is a fantastic herb. It's very, very soothing. As with ashwagandha helps to reduce stress levels, improve stress resilience. And I talk about both of these herbs in 5 herbs to help with menopause symptoms. So make sure you check out that video if you haven't done so. Another herb is passion flower, which is very calming. It helps to reduce stress, and also it interacts with GABA, the neurotransmitter in the brain that has the calming effect we lose in perimenopause. With both lemon balm and passion flower, you can have these in a lovely herbal tea along with other herbs like chamomile and hops, or you can take them in supplement form. I will link to some of my favorite products down below, so make sure you check that out. L-Theanine is a really important amino acid that helps with sleep because it helps with GABA function, so it helps to calm everything down, allowing us to want to fall off to sleep. The most important mineral, as far as I'm concerned, is magnesium. It's very soothing, it's very calming, it calms the nervous system and promotes good quality sleep and interacts with that calming neurotransmitter GABA. When we're stressed, we burn through magnesium, and unfortunately most of our foods are very mineral deficient. So whilst we can top up magnesium with the foods that I mentioned, I do also like a magnesium supplement if there's sleep issues. Magnesium supplements come in many different forms, and the one that I like best is the magnesium glycinate. So in my line of work, we have a saying, etiology over symptomatology. So with that in mind, I always ask my ladies, when did the sleep issues start? If there was something going on, or if there was a trauma or an accident, grief or bereavement or something like that led to the sleep issues, then that is actually what needs to be treated first. Following on from that, then I will look at what is going on with the sleep. Are they having trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, early waking? Is there a time pattern to it? Looking at those kind of patterns can give us a lot of information as to what is going on. Then we look at sleep hygiene, what needs improving, what needs avoiding, and finally, what needs to be included as extra supplemental support. And that's pretty much how I work. So if you like the natural, holistic, very individualized approach, make sure to hit the subscribe button, because that is what my YouTube channel is all about.